Hello, this is Jim for the Monopoly Project. We're doing one of our floating book reviews for the month of March, and we're here on the Monopoly Project yacht. Every successful real estate investor has a yacht, and this Monopoly Project yacht, unfortunately, it's the Bikini Girls' day off, so you just have me, and we're here to review 4 books on Val Vista Lakes on a nice day in April, a little windy, but we're doing good. So we got 4 books. Let's jump right into them. The Fourfold Kingdom of God, Robert Heinlein's Friday, science fiction, Alaric Bond's Honor Bound. This is like the 12th book in the series we've read. And finally, Bad Moon Rising, the unofficial history of Creedence Clearwater. So let's jump right into them. Let me adjust our course, and then we'll be right back with our first book. Hello, this is Jim. I'm back for the Monopoly Project Floating Book Reviews. We're here on our yacht, Val Vista, the Monopoly Project yacht. Every successful real estate investor has a yacht, and we're floating here on Val Vista Lakes doing our monthly book reviews. And our 4th and last book for the month of March that we finished was Bad Moon Rising, the unofficial history of Creedence Clearwater Revival. It was written by Mark Bordowitz, who was a rock reporter from those days, and so he goes into a lot of detail, and there's a lot of black and white pictures, there's no color pictures. He goes into detail of how they got to, a lot of detail on the first half on how they got together and who they were. And I was very interested in this because I grew up in that same area, in the San Francisco Bay Area. I was probably 5 to 10 years younger than them, so by the time they hit the big time in 1968, I was only 15 or 16. So I resonated a lot with the first half of the book, and the traditional story of Creedence Clearwater is that Tom Fogarty here and his brother, I'm trying to remember which one's the brother, but John Fogarty was the genius of the group, and Tom Fogarty, who was actually his older brother, although he was a pretty good musician, he just didn't have the charisma or talents, and that eventually the group broke up because they thought John was controlling everything, and that he was running the thing because he thought he was better than everybody else. So they eventually broke up, and the other guy's career they tried to do solo albums and collaborations, and it didn't quite work out, which sort of confirms the fact that they just didn't have the talent and skills and charisma that John did. Whereas John went on after a long time to do a whole lot more work. I mean, leaving aside what he did with Creedence Clearwater, he wrote a lot of the songs and such. But it turns out that one of the central parts of the story is John gets in a legal fight with his producer, who actually owns all his works. And I guess the guy's name is Zantz, S-A-E-N-Z-T-Z. He actually writes a song called Zantz Can't Dance, and Zantz sues him successfully. And actually Zantz sues him because he wrote a song that was similar to a song that he wrote before, and Zantz owns the copyrights for it, so he accuses John Fogarty of copying himself, which is kind of a weird concept, but legally he wins, and I guess John pays him off. But anyway, I found the book very interesting because, like I said, I grew up in that area. If you know Creedence Clearwater, one of the songs they wrote about was Lodi, and Lodi is a town in the Central Valley, which was like 40 or 50 miles, no, maybe not, maybe 30 miles north of us. And we had friends in Lodi, and they talk about, the song is about getting stuck in Lodi, where the band goes there and they don't have enough money to get back, and it's a really conservative place. It was. We had one friend who lived there, or family friends, and at that time they still wore uniforms to school, and it was a very conservative area, in the old sense of conservative, not in the current sense. So anyway, like I said, I found the first half. The second half goes into a lot of the details that I mentioned about Zantz and what they did in their contract. And it you know, I had originally believed the conventional wisdom that you know, John was the genius and the other guys were hangers-on, and that John was the the old trouble genius. And you know, he sues his, you know, for 10 years he didn't play any music either publicly or privately, and he didn't write anything because he was in this big lawsuit with Zantz, and you know, it went on and on. And so it turns out that there's a lot of truth to that conventional wisdom. I mean, it's pretty obvious that he had a genius for writing songs and performing, and his brother and his two other bandmates, while they were good musicians, they just didn't rise to that level. It turns out that I think his feud against Zantz was probably just his egotism blown all out of it, because his brother Tom claimed, you know, called Zantz his friend to his very dying day, and on his very dying day, of course, John wouldn't go visit him. So you know, I have a lot less sympathy for John as the trouble genius. I mean, he was, but again, that I just don't see that as forgiving all these things. We got some canoeing paddlers here with even a baby. So hello. So we're, I don't know if you can see them. Hey. So yeah, there's quite a bit of activity on lake today. So anyway, so like I said, I did really enjoy the book, because it's just old time's sake, back 40 or 50 years to the 60s, and you know, how they played and all this and that. And so anyway, I do recommend the book. Actually, John himself wrote an autobiography where he goes into this, and several of this book is actually relatively old. It was written in, I think, 2002, and a lot has happened with John. Not good. You know, he's still playing and making new music, but he refused to play together with the old bandmates. The old bandmates are still alive. They have a tribute band and stuff like that. But in any case, so we're getting ready to head back to port, and we thank you for listening to our floating book reviews. We'll catch you next month for our April book reviews. Thank you, everybody.